Since this is day one of your challenge, let's start with a brief definition. What is a phrasal verb? A phrasal verb is a two-word, sometimes three-word combination of a verb plus another word, usually an adverb like break up, or a preposition like sleep on. Let me sleep on it. These phrasal verbs have so many different meanings and idiomatic meanings, figurative meanings. They're important to know because they pop up in conversation all the time. Crack. I like this one because we have down and up. Down, up. These seem like opposites, but crack down and crack up are not opposites. They simply have two totally separate meanings. Crack down means to be more forceful, more severe in the enforcement of a punishment or of a rule. For example, the police are cracking down on underage drinking, or the university is cracking down on plagiarism. When you put the two words together, they become a compound word, a noun. Same idea. A crackdown is a severe or stern enforcement of rules, laws, or regulations. There's been a crackdown on speeding. It's also the name of a video game. Have you played it? I have not. Crack up has nothing to do with rules, regulation, or enforcement. It has several different meanings. First, it has to do with mental health. If you're not well, depressed, or under pressure or anxious, and you have an event like a mental breakdown or a psychotic break, you crack up. She cracked up because of the pressure of her new job. This can also be a one-word noun. He had a crack up during finals. Or he's a crack up. He's mentally ill. Now, when you use it as a noun, he's a crack up. It's more harsh than saying someone is mentally ill. It's kind of writing that person off. There's no sympathy for the illness when you call someone a crack up. But it also has a meaning that's very different. When something is hilarious, very funny, and you laugh and laugh, you are cracking up. That movie cracked me up. I cracked up. It's also used in the phrase cracked up to be, meaning supposed to be or expected. He's cracked up to be the greatest pitcher of all time. But usually the phrase is used in the negative when something or someone doesn't meet expectations. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Fame isn't everything it's cracked up to be. The word crack starts with the CR consonant cluster, cur. Your lips can form the R as you make the K sound with the back of the tongue, cur. The front part of your tongue can also be in position, pulled back and up for the R, cur. Then all you have to do is release the back of the tongue, cur, cra. Then the ah vowel, lots of jaw drop for this one. The back of the tongue lifts, the tip of the tongue stays down, ah, cra, crack. And another K sound at the end. Back of the tongue lifts up to touch the soft palate and releases. K, crack, crack. To review, you can crack down on something when you're serious about the rules. When you crack up, it can either mean you've had a bit of a mental breakdown or the complete opposite. You've laughed really hard at something. It can also mean expected and is usually used in the negative. Making YouTube videos isn't all it's cracked up to be. It looks simple, but each video takes so much time. I used the phrasal verb bang out not long ago, and so when I started thinking of what verbs to use for the 30-day challenge, I immediately thought of bang. When we bang something out, we do it quickly, without nuance, without being totally careful or precise about what we're doing. The sentence I used it in is, I can bang it out on the piano. I can't play well, but I can get through it. I can bang it out. Probably playing loudly. You can also bang out something like a report. Oh, I don't have much time. I'm just going to bang out the report. Quickly, without as much attention to detail as you would like to take or as you could take. You can bang out something you write, like an article, a book. Bang it out. Actually, just the other day, I found someone banging something out on the piano. Stony, are you banging out a tune? Banging away can mean the same thing. She banged away at the piano. She played without much skill. But it can also mean something opposite, to really work on something over time, to work hard. That's the opposite of quickly banging out a report. He banged away at the speech for days. Bang down. We tend to use this a lot with fist. You might bang your fist down on the table. Loud, forceful. If you bang into someone or something, you hit it with your body. You might bang into a desk or bang into someone as you're rushing down the street. Bang, ow. If you bang into something, you might get banged up. If you get banged up, you're injured, hurt. It can range from something small to something serious. He was in a car accident and was banged up pretty badly. The word bang is pronounced with the B sound, and then the A vowel followed by the NG nasal consonant. When the A vowel is followed by NG, it's no longer the pure A vowel, but something more like the diphthong A. So it's not ba, bang, but bay, a, bang. Jaw drops at the beginning, bang. Then comes up as the back of the tongue reaches up for the soft palate. Bang, bang. To review, bang out and bang away can both mean the same thing, to do something quickly, crudely, without great skill. She's banging away at the piano. I'm going to bang out a piece on the piano. But bang away can also mean to spend a lot of time working on one thing. He's been banging away at that project all week. You can also bang down your fist. Bang into something or someone. Ow, I banged up my arm. You can also bang something up. I banged up the car. I banged up my knee. Earlier in this series, we did cut phrasal verbs. There were so many I had to cut the video in two. Break is the same way. There are so many phrasal verbs, I have to break this topic into two videos. Breakaway. This is when something is being held in place, tied in place, and then gets separated. The boat may break away from the dock in the storm. Also, a person who's being held can break away. The girl broke away from her father and jumped into the pool. It can also mean to move away from a group. She is broken away from the pack and is now in the lead. This would be in a race. Everyone was running in a group and she broke away, separated herself from them. Breakdown. We have several meanings here. Your car can break down. Your washing machine can break down. This is when something stops working correctly, stops functioning. My car broke down on a long road trip. It can also refer to something more abstract, like a marriage or a negotiation. Their marriage broke down after the kids left the house. The negotiations broke down quickly. We also use this phrasal verb in the phrase break down and cry. It means to have your emotions take over, to be out of control. I just broke down and cried when I saw the violence on TV. Or it can mean to dismantle something. Break down the cardboard boxes before putting them in the recycling bin. It also means to divide something into smaller parts. I'm going to break down the old shed in my yard. The meat will break down as you cook it. This is a big problem. Let's break it down into manageable parts. Put the two words together and it becomes a noun. A mental breakdown is a mental disorder, an event, not an ongoing problem, but a specific event when someone cannot function normally due to stress, depression, or anxiety. Break in has a couple of very different meanings. First, it can mean to enter illegally. Let's break into Mary's vacation house when she's not there. It can also mean to use something a while to make it more comfortable. These new shoes hurt. I need to break them in. Or a new baseball glove. The leather is still very stiff. You have to use it a while to break it in. It can mean to do something suddenly. She broke into a smile when she saw the puppy. The audience broke into applause as soon as the star walked on stage. Have you ever heard someone talk about a big break? That means a moment of discovery in a competitive field. The child star had her big break when the Broadway producer saw her singing on the street corner. We use break in this way too. It's tough to break into show business. Break away, break down, break in. Just 3 phrasal verbs here, but a lot of meanings. Tomorrow we'll learn break off, break out, break through, break up, and break with. Break begins with the BR consonant cluster. Your tongue can be in position for the R, as you start the B. The position for the R is front of tongue pulled back and up. Lips flare. Some language groups mix this up with the L, bull, where the tongue tip is here at the roof of the mouth. We want the tip pulled back and up. Break. Then we have the A as in say diphthong. A. For this, the jaw drops more for the beginning of the sound and less for the end of the sound. A. Bray. At the end, keep your tongue tip down, but arch the front part of the tongue towards the front of the roof of the mouth. A. Bray. K. And to end, a K sound. Back of the tongue lifts up and touches the soft palate, then pulls away. K. Break. Break. The word sounds just like this word, break. I hope this video will help you have a breakthrough with phrasal verbs. Let's get started. Break off means to separate. Break off a piece of chocolate. Part of my tooth broke off in a skiing accident. To break off can also mean to end a relationship. My mom thinks I should break it off with Doug. Break out can mean to start suddenly. A fire broke out in the kitchen. The war broke out right after he graduated. She broke out in song at the party. And if you'll remember, break in means to enter illegally. Break out means to exit illegally, like jail. I don't know how they did it, but 2 men broke out of jail. It can also mean to serve something. It's almost midnight. Let's break out the champagne. We also use this phrase with skin irritations and acne. Of course, I broke out right before my wedding. Or we can use it with in, break out in. I broke out in a cold sweat before my speech. I was really nervous about it. We use break through for having a success, and we use it a lot as a noun, one word with no space, breakthrough. He believes he's close to a big breakthrough with his research. We also use break through with barriers. When playing Red Rover, you have to break through the other team's line. Break up. Now this one is sad. This is when a relationship ends. Joe and I broke up last week. Or, I think I'm going to break up with Sam. We also use this with cell phones all the time if the connection isn't good. If you keep not hearing parts of what the other person is saying, you might say, "What? You're breaking up." It can also mean to separate in general. Let's break up into small groups to discuss the play. You have to break up the bread for this recipe. If you break with something, that means you reject something, like a tradition. We're going to break with tradition this year and stay home for the holidays. Break away, break down. break in, break off, break out, break through, break up, and break with. That's a lot of phrasal verbs. Break begins with the BR consonant cluster. Your tongue can be in position for the R, as you start the B. The position for the R is front of tongue pulled back and up. Lips flare. Some language groups mix this up with the L, bull, where the tongue tip is here at the roof of the mouth. We want the tip pulled back and up. Break. Then we have the A as in say diphthong. A. For this, the jaw drops more for the beginning of the sound and less for the end of the sound. A. Bray. At the end, keep your tongue tip down, but arch the front part of the tongue towards the front of the roof of the mouth. A. Bray. And to end, a K sound. Back of the tongue lifts up and touches the soft palate, then pulls away. Break. Break. The word sounds just like this word, break. They're homophones. Today we're studying cut, and there are so many phrasal verbs with cut that I'm going to cut this video into. There's a story about my brother when he was a baby and some confusion over phrasal verbs. He heard the sound of a chainsaw outside, and he said, "What are they doing?" My mom said they're cutting down a tree. This means cutting it at the base, so there's no tree anymore, cutting it down. Later, they were still going. He still heard the sound of the chainsaw, and he said, "Well, what are they doing now?" My mom said, "Well, now they're cutting it up." He said, "Why would they cut it down if they're just going to cut it up?" Well, of course, cutting a tree down is not the opposite of cutting a tree up. Cut down has a couple of different meanings. It can mean, like in the case of the tree, to make something fall down by cutting it at the base. It can also mean to reduce. I'm trying to cut down on sugars, but it's so hard around the holidays. If you cut someone down, you're trying to make that person look or feel stupid. The bully cut her down in front of everyone by making fun of her glasses. There's also a phrase to cut someone down to size. That means they think they're better than they are, and you want them to know you don't think they're so great. He was so arrogant, I'm going to cut him down to size at the next meeting. To cut up means to cut into pieces. The vegetables need to be cut up. If someone is a cut up, he or she is making jokes, being funny. I love John. He's such a cut up. If you cut someone up, that's not good. That means you've attacked him with a knife. But it also has a figurative meaning for when someone is very upset, hurt feelings. She's cut up over losing her job. To cut back has the same meaning as to cut down. It's to reduce. We need to cut back our reliance on fossil fuels. I need to cut back calories if I'm going to lose weight. To cut across or to cut through something is to take a shortcut. Make your route a shorter distance. Let's cut through the quad. It's quicker that way. He cut through the woods. Cut across can also mean to affect different groups. News of the merger cut across all the departments. Everyone, even those people in separate departments who maybe didn't usually get along, felt worried about the merger. Cut through can also mean to slice something. The knife cut through the rope easily. That can also be used figuratively. His words cut through my heart. Cut away means, in video, to change to a different scene. For example, cut away to people laughing. If you cut something away, that means you remove it with a knife or a scissors or something like that. Cut away the fat before cooking the chicken. Okay, so that was cut down, cut up, cut back, cut across, cut through, cut away. Tomorrow you'll learn cut in, cut into, cut off, and cut out. The word cut is pronounced with the K consonant sound, the as in butter vowel, and the T. K. Touch the back of the tongue to the soft palate and release. Ka. For the vowel, relax everything. Ka. Let the resonance of the voice fall low. Down here. Ka. The pronunciation of the T depends on the word after it. If the next word begins with a vowel, make that a flap T, like in cut across. Kutta, 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 ra ra ra. Just bounce the tongue against the roof of the mouth. Don't stop the air. Kutta, cut across. If the next word begins with a consonant, then a stop T will sound great here, like in the phrase cut back, cut back, cut, stop the air, cut back, cut back. You don't release the T, you don't hear a T sound. What you hear is an abrupt stop. Then the next word, cut back, cut back. Yesterday we started this phrasal verb, but the topic is so big we cut the video in two. Today we'll start with cut in. Cut in has a couple of definitions. You can cut in when someone is speaking, interrupt them. You can also cut into traffic with your car. Someone cut in front of me. Or a line. Don't you hate it when you've been waiting in line for something for a while and then someone cuts in towards the front? Not fair. If you cut somebody in, that means you let them in on a deal or a profit of some sort. Money. He cut his brother-in-law in on the deal. If you cut into something, that means you slice it with a knife, but you don't slice it into two parts. You just cut into it. It can also happen from your clothing or environment in a way that's uncomfortable. This shoe is cutting into my foot, or this bench is cutting into my back. It doesn't mean it's actually cutting through your skin in these cases. It can also mean to take up too much of something. All of these emails are cutting into my free time. Cut off. Multiple uses. To cut someone off is to interrupt. If someone is telling you a long story and you don't want to hear it, or you know what they're going to say, you might say, I'm going to cut you off right there. Or you could say, she cut me off in the middle of a sentence. It can also mean to stop providing for someone. My parents cut me off. They said I need to get a job. It can also mean to end a relationship. I cut it off with Bob. He talks way too much. Also with traffic. This is just like cut in. She cut in front of me. She cut me off. If you cut something off, it's like to cut away. You remove something with a knife or other sharp tool. Van Gogh cut off his ear. Cut out. If something stops working, the radio cut out. If it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, like there's a loose connection, you can say, the radio keeps cutting in and out. Have you ever heard the phrase, cut out the middleman? What's that mean? That means you can buy something directly from the business that is making that thing, not from a store that bought the item from the maker. That's a middleman. The price goes up if you buy something from a business who bought it from another business. There's probably been a markup in price. That's a bonus phrasal verb for today, markup. So if you cut out the middleman, that means you don't include or involve that person, and that generally means what you're buying is going to be cheaper. To cut out can mean to stop doing something. I've cut out sugar. That means I don't eat sugar anymore. Have you ever heard, cut it out? This means stop it. Stop doing that. You can say that when someone is pestering you, annoying you. Cut it out. There's also a phrase, you have your work cut out for you. That means, wow, there's a lot to do. Or what you need to do is really hard. It's going to take me weeks to translate this. I have my work cut out for me. Not cut out can mean not fit, not having the qualities to do something. She's not cut out to be a teacher. Cut down, cut up, cut back, cut across, cut through, cut away, cut in, cut into, cut off, and cut out. That's a lot, and so many ways to use these verbs. I hope studying this verb doesn't cut into your other studies too much. The word cut is pronounced with the K consonant sound, the as in butter vowel, and the T. K. Touch the back of the tongue to the soft palate and release. K. For the vowel, relax everything. K. Let the resonance of the voice fall low. Down here. K. The pronunciation of the T depends on the word after it. If the next word begins with a vowel, make that a flap T, like in cut across. Cutta, 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 ra ra ra. Just bounce the tongue against the roof of the mouth. Don't stop the air. Cutta, cut across. If the next word begins with a consonant, then a stop T will sound great here, like in the phrase cut back, cut back, cut, stop the air, cut back, cut back. You don't release the T, you don't hear a T sound. What you hear is an abrupt stop. Then the next word, cut back, cut back. You don't have to buy up the videos in this 30-day phrasal verb vocabulary challenge because they're absolutely free. To buy up means to buy all of something that you can quickly. This is a great deal. I'm going to buy up all these frames. Or they're buying up all the empty lots in Philadelphia to build apartments. To buy out means to buy all of someone's shares or stake in a company. I bought out my partner when she decided to retire. I bought all her shares, so now I own the whole company. It can also be when a large company buys out all the stock of a smaller company, taking ownership. Or if one company simply buys another company. Instagram was bought by Facebook. If you buy somebody off, that means you pay that person. You give him or her money so that they will do something or not do something for you. You bribe them. They wanted to buy me off, but I'm not going to take their money. I'm going to report their illegal activity. In other words, they wanted to pay me to keep me quiet. If you buy into something, you believe it. I bought into the idea that he was going to be a great president. Or if someone's telling you something and it doesn't seem truthful, you can say, I don't buy it. That's like saying, I don't believe you. Buy in can also mean to invest. I think you should buy into this company. I really think the stock is going to go up. We also use buy in with poker. If you want to join a poker game, you have to pay a certain amount of money to get chips to play with. That's so you can start playing. I'm going to buy into the game at that table. The verb to buy back. This is when a company sells you something, and then when it's not useful to you anymore, they'll buy it back. For example, textbooks. You might find a store that will buy back your textbooks at the end of the school year to sell them used. Buy begins with the B consonant. Lips come together, b. Vocal cords vibrate, b. Buy. And release into the I diphthong. Buy. Jaw drops for the beginning of that diphthong, ba. Back of the tongue lifts, ba. Buy. Then the jaw comes up as the front of the tongue arches towards the front of the roof of the mouth. Buy. Buy. To cry for something does not actually involve crying. It means to urgently ask for something. I heard her cry for help. It can also mean to really need based on appearance or situation. This house is just crying for someone to buy it. It's in a great neighborhood and it's well priced. Or the team is crying for a new manager, meaning the current manager is pretty bad. You might cry out when you're crying for help. To cry out means to make a loud, sudden sound. It can either be a word like hey or help, or just a sound like ow. She cried out when she broke her arm. I cried out to him, but it couldn't be heard over the crowd. If you cry out against something, you're protesting. You're asking for a change. Some people have cried out against the government's move to reduce Medicare benefits. Or The workers cried out when the company announced pay cuts. We also use this quite a bit as a noun, just one word, outcry. There was a public outcry over the proposed changes to the park. We also use this phrasal verb in the phrase, for crying out loud. This is an expression that shows annoyance or exasperation. When your kid starts asking for ice cream for the third day in a row, you might say, "Oh, for crying out loud." And we use cry over in the phrase, "There's no use crying over spilled milk." This means don't get too upset about something that has already happened and can't be changed. "I wish I'd studied harder for that test." Well, there's no use crying over spilled milk. You can study hard for the final. Cry begins with the CR consonant cluster. Back of the tongue lifts to touch the soft palate as the front part of the tongue starts to lift and pull back for the R. The lips can start to flare too. Cur, cur, cry. Then the I diphthong, I as in by. Jaw drops for the first sound, ah, cra, and the back of the tongue lifts, cra. Then the front of the tongue arches up towards the roof of the mouth, bringing the jaw back up. Cry, 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 cry.